Welcome to the Celebrity Series on the Artificial Fluency podcast.
Hi there.
Today, we're diving deep into interviews with Emma Stone. We've got material from a YouTube chat she did with a therapist and also an episode of NPR's Fresh Air.
Yeah, good stuff. And our mission really is to unpack what she shared about her experiences with anxiety.
Right, how it's kind of woven through her life, her career,
Right.
from being a kid right up to being this major actress.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
wanted to explore those personal struggles, how she copes, and maybe how that inner world possibly fuels her creativity.
Okay, so let's start maybe at the beginning. Her early life. She grew up in Phoenix
Yeah.
and apparently went from being a very sort of serious baby and toddler
Right.
to this really rambunctious kid, always performing until she was about 7. That shift itself is kind of interesting.
It is, and it maybe sets the stage for the intensity that came later.
Yeah.
Because around age 7, that's when things took a really sharp turn.
That was the first panic attack.
Yeah.
At a friend's house.
Yeah. She described this terrifying feeling like the house was actually on fire.
Wow.
Even though obviously it wasn't. It just shows how, physically real and overwhelming anxiety can feel, especially for a child.
And it wasn't just one time. The next couple of years sound really tough.
Oh, definitely.
Hmm.
Frequent panic, she said. Daily trips to the school nurse.
Yeah.
Really intense separation anxiety, especially from her mom. Couldn't really go to friends' houses.
It just paints a picture of how disruptive that early anxiety can be for a kid's whole world, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which, highlights how important it is to spot these things early if possible.
Thankfully, her parents did get her into therapy around age 8.
Right. And initially, it sounds like it was pretty child-focused. Play
Mhm.
therapy, drawing.
Makes sense. Ways for kids to express things they maybe can't put into words yet.
Exactly. And one thing that really stood out was this book she made.
Oh, yeah. I am bigger than my anxiety.
Uh-huh. Where she drew anxiety as this little green monster.
That's fascinating. What's the significance of, externalizing it like that, giving it its own identity?
Well, it's actually a really powerful coping strategy, even if she was just doing it intuitively as a kid. It's sort of a core idea in cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT.
Okay.
You learn to see the anxiety or the anxious thoughts as separate from you. It's not who you are, it's something you experience.
Ah, so it becomes something you can maybe deal with or observe rather than just being swamped by it.
Exactly. She was also learning kind of basic CBT ideas like, anxiety grows if you feed it with attention and it shrinks if you don't.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff for an 8-year-old to grasp.
And it sounds like therapy really made a difference for her then. Helped her get back to school more normally.
Yeah, she described it as transformative.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Then a few years later, around 11, she discovers acting, improv, youth theater, and she has this amazing quote calling improv the antithesis of anxiety. Why do you think that is? What about improv works against anxiety?
That's such a great insight from her. I mean, think about improv. You have to be completely in the moment.
Yeah, you can't be worrying about the past or future.
Exactly. You're listening intently to your scene partner, reacting spontaneously. All that focus is external, leaving less sort of mental space for the internal worry and chatter that anxiety thrives on.
Okay, that makes sense. Less room to ruminate.
Right. Plus, it's usually playful, collaborative, that can build a sense of connection and maybe lower that self-consciousness that often comes with anxiety.
She also mentioned something about people with anxiety or depression often being very sensitive, very smart.
Yeah, and that sensitivity, that heightened awareness, while maybe contributing to the anxiety, could also be channeled. Acting provides a place to put those big feelings, make them productive somehow.
She called acting her sport, gave her confidence, and said the anxiety just vanished during performance.
Yeah, it's like finding that zone, that flow state psychologists talk about. When you're totally absorbed in something demanding and engaging, especially something you love, that self-doubt and anxiety can just fade into the background. Live theater, SNL, it demands that presence.
So she finds this passion, this sanctuary, almost,
Seems like it.
and then her dedication just ramps up. A homeschooling in middle school to act more,
Right.
and then the famous Project Hollywood PowerPoint at 15.
Yeah. I mean, creating a whole presentation to convince your parents to let you drop everything and move to LA, that shows incredible focus.
And intensity, right? That teenage feeling of, if I don't do this now, my life is over.
Totally. But, her mom's support was clearly huge there too, recognizing how important this was for her.
But LA wasn't instant success, was it? There was that reality show In Search of the Partridge Family and lots of rejection, apparently. How does someone, especially someone managing anxiety, keep going through that?
Well, she's talked about a couple of things. One is trusting her instincts, like a deeper knowing beyond just fleeting feelings.
Hmm.
And the other, crucially, was having people around her family, loved ones who believed in her no matter what. That support acts as a buffer, you know? Your worth isn't just tied to getting the next role.
Which must be vital in such a tough industry.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Especially when you're already prone to anxiety.
So how did that anxiety, those deeper feelings, eventually feed into her acting itself? She seems to think it helped.
Yeah, she believes experiencing those intense emotions actually helped her connect with characters, find empathy.
Like drawing on her own experiences of feeling vulnerable or maybe dealing with rejection.
Potentially, yeah. It gives you a richer palette to draw from, emotionally speaking. You might understand a character's struggles on a deeper level. Think about, say,
Right.
Easy A, navigating judgment, finding your footing. Maybe some of her own stuff informed that.
And she poured herself into roles she connected with, like that one.
Definitely sounds like it. But she also mentioned learning as she got older to sort of let go more.
Let go of roles she didn't get or expectations.
Yeah, exactly. Not being so attached to specific outcomes, which honestly is a big part of managing anxiety long term, too, accepting what you can't control.
Yeah.
That's real growth.
And she's very open that the anxiety didn't just poof, disappear with success.
Not at all. She mentioned having a panic attack even on the day of one of the interviews we're drawing from.
Wow. Okay, so it's an ongoing thing.
It really is. But she has tools now. Therapy continues to be important. Meditation, she mentioned transcendental meditation specifically.
Yeah.
And importantly, connecting with people, talking about it instead of isolating.
That openness itself seems like a tool, doesn't it? Fighting the stigma.
Hugely important. Just acknowledging this is part of me, but it's not all of me. That's key.
She also finds that staying busy, having creative outlets, helps keep her mind from like turning inward too much.
Yeah, channeling that energy and sleep. She called lack of sleep her kryptonite.
Oh, I think a lot of people can relate to that one. Lack of sleep makes everything harder.
For sure, especially anxiety.
She also touched on medication, mentioned being initially hesitant, worried about feeling numb or less effective.
Right, which is a common fear. But she also acknowledged how helpful it is for many people and pointed out the stigma that still exists around it. It
Mhm.
felt like a very balanced take.
Yeah, recognizing it's a personal choice, different things work for different people.
Exact.
Okay, another big choice, she's made no personal social media.
Yeah, that's pretty deliberate.
Why did you decide that? It seems like a way to manage anxiety triggers.
That seems to be exactly it. The potential for overwhelm, the constant feedback loop, the fear of maybe saying the wrong thing. She just decided it wasn't worth the potential stress. Though she admits she does look sometimes a lurker, she called herself.
Huh, okay. So she's aware of it, just doesn't participate personally.
Seems that way.
How about her view on like success and failure, winning an Oscar, facing rejection?
She talked about seeing both as kind of transient, things that come and go.
So not getting too high on the highs or too low on the lows.
Pretty much. Finding value in both the good and the bad experiences, seeing them as part of the whole journey. That suggests a lot of resilience, I think.
Does she mention anxiety ever holding her back, though?
Yeah.
Limiting her?
She did touch on that. Said it sometimes made her hesitant to be maybe more outspoken on certain issues. That fear of making a mistake, saying the wrong thing.
Ah, okay. So even with all her success, it can still have that effect.
Yeah. She brought up Whoopi Goldberg's fear of flying as a relatable example, how anxiety can genuinely limit your choices sometimes, no matter who you are.
Let's shift gears a bit. Poor Things. Quite a role.
Oh, yeah.
Her character, Bella Baxter, is so unburdened by societal norms, especially around sexuality and shame. Does she connect that to her own experiences?
She reflected on it, yeah. Talked a bit about her own upbringing, Lutheranism, and how there might have been subtle background influences related to guilt or body image, even if not overt. So playing Bella was maybe exploring the opposite of that.
And she mentioned working with an intimacy coordinator on that film.
Yes, and spoke really positively about it, how it created emotional safety and helped understand the body's reactions during those scenes, made it feel more technical and safe.
Going back to her career beginnings, that PowerPoint again. She was 15, aiming for pilot season in LA.
Such drive. And then getting that audition for Superbad with Allison Jones, the casting director, that sounds like it was a big door opening.
Yeah, and remember the La La Land audition story? Singing about her aunt.
Oh, right. That's so charming. Shows her bringing herself, her own stories into the process.
She also talked about doing cabaret on Broadway. and being worried about her singing
Yeah,
voice.
she seems a bit self-conscious about her singing, but she went all out to protect her voice during that run, seeing an ENT, even getting like glutathione 5E infusions.
Wow, dedication.
Totally. And way back, that audition for the Partridge Family reboot. She had some funny descriptions of her fashion choices back then.
It's good to remember everyone has those early, maybe slightly awkward moments.
Absolutely builds character, right?
She knows she has a very expressive face, right? Which is obviously great for an actor.
Oh, yeah? She's aware of it.
And she told us one really unusual story about preparing for a role involving vomiting because she has emetophobia, a fear of vomiting.
Yeah, that was intense. Pushing yourself to confront a deep fear for a role, it really speaks to the level of commitment acting can sometimes demand.
Then there's Birdman. Her character basically tells Michael Keaton's character he's irrelevant because he's not on social media.
Right. The irony is pretty thick there, given her own choice to stay off it.
Totally. Really taps into those themes in the film about fame, relevance, the digital age.
And how different people navigate all that pressure.
Just one last little detail. Her early job working at a dog bakery.
Huh. 3 Dog Bakery. Selling human-safe dog treats.
Yeah, she mentioned a mom buying puppy Oreos for her kids.
It's just a nice grounding little anecdote, isn't it?
Yeah.
A reminder of life before the Hollywood craziness.
So, looking at the whole picture, Emma Stone's story is really this compelling narrative, isn't it? Navigating profound anxiety while building this incredible career in a super demanding field.
It really is. And her experiences, they highlight so many important things, like
Mhm.
the value of getting help early for mental health stuff.
Right, that early therapy.
And the power of finding something you're passionate about, a creative outlet.
Mm.
But also the fact that it's an ongoing process. You need self-awareness, you need coping tools throughout life.
And her openness, her willingness to just talk about it, that does so much to chip away at the stigma, you know?
Absolutely. It sends a powerful message. Anxiety can be part of your story, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. It doesn't have to define you.
And maybe sometimes those sensitivities can even become strengths in unexpected ways.
Exactly. So as you're listening, maybe think about what parts of Emma Stone's journey resonated with you.
Yeah, did any of her experiences or the ways she learned to cope offer a different perspective on challenges you might face or how you understand others?
It's really an invitation, this deep dive, to just reflect on the complexities of mental health and the very human, multifaceted journeys people take, even those in the public eye.